Self-discipline is not about punishment. It's not about deprivation. It's about liberation, because when you master yourself, you master your future. Today, I give you 10 rules of self-discipline you must see. And if you live by these rules, I promise you, life will never be the same. Rule 1. Clarity creates power. A person without a clear goal is like a ship without a rudder, drifting directionless and vulnerable to every wave. The most disciplined people in the world don't have more willpower than others. They simply have a powerful reason to stay the course. Clarity gives birth to that reason. When you're unclear about what you want, every distraction feels important. Every temptation seems worth chasing. But when you know what you want with precision, you develop tunnel vision. The noise of the world fades. The urgency of your goal becomes louder than your excuses. Think about it. If you walk into a gym without a plan, you'll waste time wandering between machines. But if you step in knowing exactly what muscles you're training, how many reps you're doing, and what time you're leaving, you walk in like a person with a mission. Clarity changes posture. It changes presence. It changes results. Most people say they want success, but success is vague. Success could mean owning a business, being debt-free, writing a book, or traveling the world. Without a detailed picture, the brain has nothing to aim at. It's like trying to hit a target with a blindfold on. Your brain is a goal-seeking mechanism. Once you feed it a specific target, it starts looking for opportunities, patterns, and shortcuts. It becomes a heat-seeking missile for purpose. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't just say he wanted to be great. He said he wanted to be Mr. Olympia. He didn't just say he wanted to be rich. He said he wanted to be the highest paid actor in Hollywood. That's clarity. And that clarity turned into obsession. That obsession turned into habits. And those habits turned into history. Write your goal. Define it in detail. Give it a deadline. Describe what it looks like, sounds like, feels like. When your vision becomes real in your mind, it becomes possible in your life. Clarity builds emotional power too. When you deeply understand why your goal matters, why you're doing it not just for you, but maybe for your children, your legacy, your freedom, you create fire. And when the fire is strong enough, discipline becomes automatic. People aren't lazy, they're unclear. They procrastinate not because they're weak, but because the outcome is fuzzy. But once clarity enters the picture, action becomes natural. Get clear, stay clear, and let your clarity carry you when motivation fades. Rule 2. Make pain your ally. Most people run from pain. They avoid hard conversations, skip hard workouts, resist waking up early. But here's the truth. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the price. Pain is the signal that growth is happening. Muscles don't grow without tension. Skills don't sharpen without struggle. Character doesn't develop without challenge. Every person you admire has learned to walk toward pain, not away from it. The gym hurts, studying hurts, waking up at 4:30 a.m. hurts, but you know what else hurts? Regret, debt, disease, broken dreams. Choose your pain. One leads to power, the other leads to pity. Think about someone training for a marathon. They run when they don't want to. They run when it rains. They run when their legs scream. Why? Because they've accepted that pain is part of the process. They don't question it. They expect it. They've made peace with the suffering that shapes champions. Pain is not personal. It's universal. What separates winners is not the absence of pain. It's the response to pain. Losers get bitter. Winners get better. You can use pain as fuel. Let the memory of being overlooked push you to prepare harder. Let the sting of failure push you to refine your craft. Let the discomfort of your current situation drive you to create a new one. Look at any elite performer, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, none of them became great because life was easy. They became great because they turned pain into practice. They weren't afraid to bleed, sweat, cry, or crawl. They knew pain had a purpose. Emotional pain works the same way. Getting rejected hurts, being judged hurts, losing hurts. But instead of retreating into fear, disciplined people extract the lesson. They ask, what is this pain teaching me? What's the gift inside this mess? That mindset transforms setbacks into stepping stones. You don't have to love pain. You just have to respect it. See it as your trainer, your coach, your sculptor. The more pain you're willing to face with eyes open, the more life you're capable of creating. Remember, comfort is seductive, but nothing grows in comfort. Nothing changes in comfort, and nobody remembers the comfortable life. They remember the ones who dared to be uncomfortable for something greater. Rule 3. Delay gratification. There is a quiet power in being able to wait. In a world that screams now, the person who can say later holds the advantage. Delayed gratification is not just self-control, it is self-leadership. It is telling your impulses, you don't run this show, I do. The ability to postpone pleasure for a greater reward is one of the most defining traits of high achievers. It's what separates those who want success from those who are willing to earn it. Whether it's finishing your workout before checking your phone or saving money when it's easier to spend it, the battle is the same. Short-term comfort vs. long-term reward. Psychologists proved this in a legendary study at Stanford University in the 1970s, the marshmallow experiment. Children were given one marshmallow and told that if they could wait 15 minutes without eating it, they'd get 2. Some gave in within seconds. Others waited, squirming in discomfort but focused on the bigger prize. Years later, researchers followed up. The kids who had waited, they had higher SAT scores, better emotional control, and greater life success. This wasn't about marshmallows. It was about mindset. Discipline often looks like choosing the harder thing right now. Studying when others are partying, training when you're tired, saving when you'd rather spend. But what it really becomes is choosing the better thing over the easier thing. Think of someone building a business. For months, maybe years, they pour in time, effort, energy, and see no return. Friends are going out, sleeping in, enjoying weekends, but they keep going. Not because it feels good, but because they're chasing legacy, not leisure. They've trained themselves to wait, and in that waiting, they plant seeds the impatient will never harvest. Discipline is hard, but regret is harder. Regret is the cost of choosing now over next. The person who says yes to instant pleasure often says no to future freedom. And this doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. It means you choose when and how to enjoy it on your terms after the work is done. That piece of cake tastes better when you've earned it. That vacation feels richer when it's funded with purpose. True joy isn't in excess, it's in alignment. Delayed gratification rewires your identity. Every time you say no to now, you say yes to your highest self. You reinforce the belief that you are someone who is worthy of more, someone who is willing to wait, someone who is strong enough to endure. Success rarely shows up fast. It arrives for those who can build, wait, and believe while others quit. Practice it in small things. Skip the extra scroll, walk past the junk food, sit with your discomfort. Each small victory builds internal muscle, and over time that muscle becomes your edge. Rule 4. Control your environment. Willpower is a myth when your environment is working against you. You cannot out-discipline chaos. The strongest minds still break in the wrong surroundings. Self-discipline becomes dramatically easier when your environment supports your goals. Look around your life. Every item, every person, every sound, it's either helping you rise or making it easier to fall. The late night snacks in the pantry, the clutter on your desk, the friends who always invite you to skip the gym, these aren't random, they're triggers. And if you're not careful, they become traps. Start by removing friction. If you want to read more, leave the book by your bed, not buried in a drawer. If you want to wake up early, put your phone across the room with your alarm on. If you're trying to eat clean, don't keep junk food in the house. If it's not there, you can't eat it. Discipline is often about removing the option, not resisting it. Athletes don't rely on willpower to train. They build environments that make training automatic. A clean space, a set routine, a dedicated time. Everything around them says, "This is who I am, this is what I do." Their environment reflects their identity. Think about your digital space. Your phone and laptop can be tools or temptations. What apps are stealing your attention? What notifications break your focus? Discipline in the 21st century is not just about resisting bad habits. It's about designing a world that makes good habits easier to live with. Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." That's not just a quote, it's a warning. If you spend time with people who skip goals, make excuses, and laugh at your discipline, it won't be long before you do too. But spend time around builders, readers, leaders, people who expect excellence, and your behavior starts to match theirs. Not because of pressure, but because of proximity. Control your environment like your future depends on it, because it does. Clean your space, organize your time, audit your friendships, turn your phone into a tool, not a toy. Make it hard to fail and easy to succeed. Most people aren't weak. They're just surrounded by temptation. Your surroundings are either shaping you or sabotaging you. Set yourself up to win. 5. Keep promises to yourself. Every time you break a promise to yourself, it chips away at your confidence. It's not just about missing a workout or snoozing your alarm, it's about what it tells your mind. I don't follow through. Self-discipline is built on trust, and that trust begins with you. When you tell someone you'll meet them at 8 a.m. and don't show up, they lose respect. The same thing happens inside your mind. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," and don't, your subconscious hears it. It remembers. It keeps score. Discipline isn't just about doing hard things. It's about becoming someone who keeps their word, especially when no one's watching. That's integrity. That's power. Start small. If you say you're going to get up at 6 a.m., get up at 6 a.m., not 6:05. Not after scrolling. Get up and move, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's dark and cold. You're not just getting out of bed. You're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. This isn't about perfection. Everyone slips, but the key is to train your mind to believe. When I say I'll do something, I do it. Confidence doesn't come from compliments. It comes from consistency. The more promises you keep to yourself, the more powerful you become, not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson didn't become who he is because of luck. He became who he is because he shows up day after day, no matter how he feels. When he posts a photo of himself in the gym at 4 a.m., he's not flexing for the world. He's reinforcing a contract with himself. He's saying, "I do what I said I'd do." That's what makes people unstoppable. Not motivation, but momentum built on micro promises kept over time. Every small action matters. Drinking a glass of water when you wake up, writing 1 paragraph a day, saying no to 1 distraction. These are not insignificant, They are the bricks of character, and when you stack them, they build an unshakable identity. People often look at high performers and wonder how they stay so disciplined. The truth is, they're not negotiating with themselves. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" They say, "This is what I do." Period. If you want to transform your life, don't start with massive changes. Start by becoming a person who does what they said they would do. When you say you'll start something, start. When you say you'll stop something, stop. Treat your word like a contract, not just with others, but with yourself, because that's what builds the kind of inner strength that nothing can break. 6. Build routines, not just goals. Goals are exciting. They light a fire in you, but goals without systems are dreams waiting to die. It's not enough to want a better life. You have to build the daily structure that makes that life inevitable. Routines are what turn desire into discipline. They take the energy of a moment and convert it into the power of momentum. It's not about doing one big thing once. It's about doing small, intentional things every day. Someone who wants to write a book doesn't need more inspiration. They need a routine, maybe 1 hour every morning, no distractions, just words on a page. Over time, those hours stack. 1,000 words becomes 10,000. A rough draft becomes a manuscript, not because they had more talent, but because they had a rhythm. Benjamin Franklin understood this over 200 years ago. His day was scheduled down to the hour. Every morning he asked himself, "What good shall I do today?" Every night, "What good have I done?" That structure didn't trap him, it freed him. It gave his days direction, his life meaning. The best routines are simple, clear, repeatable. A strong morning routine can change your life. It sets the tone for the entire day. Maybe it's 20 minutes of exercise, 10 minutes of journaling, a cold shower, and reading one chapter of a book. You don't need 6 hours of self-care. You need 30 minutes of purpose. When you build a routine, you remove decision fatigue. You stop waking up and wondering, "What should I do today?" You already know. It's written, it's programmed. Your mind becomes a tool, not a battleground. Think of a musician. They don't just perform. They practice scales, drills, rhythms. They repeat, refine, repeat again. That's how mastery is born, not from performance, but from preparation. High performers in any field aren't more inspired, they're more organized. Their routines protect them when motivation fails. They don't rely on feeling good, they rely on doing the work, because the work is embedded in their day like breathing. This is where self-discipline becomes sustainable. You don't have to fight yourself every day. You let the routine carry you. Like water flowing through a canal, it doesn't need to push. The path is already built. Design your day like your life depends on it, because how you spend your day is your life. Want to change your future? Change what you do between sunrise and sunset. Routines don't just create structure. They create freedom, the freedom to focus, the freedom to grow, the freedom to become who you were meant to be. Use identity, not just willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. It's useful, but it burns out. Some days it shows up strong. Other days it abandons you before breakfast. But identity is consistent. When you align your behavior with who you believe you are, you no longer rely on effort. You operate from belief. Discipline becomes effortless when it's tied to identity. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you don't have to force yourself to avoid fast food. You don't crave junk. You reject it because it's not who you are. That shift changes everything. A smoker trying to quit has two options. When offered a cigarette, one says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The other says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Both are saying no. But only one is stepping into a new identity. One is resisting temptation, the other has already replaced it. This is how real transformation begins, not by knuckling through change, but by adopting a new internal standard. You don't just run a few miles, you become a runner. You don't just read one book, you become a reader. Once you anchor your identity in your desired behavior, your decisions change at the root. This is why affirmations, when backed by action, are powerful. Saying, "I am focused, I am disciplined, I am a leader," rewires your self-image, but it only works if your actions reinforce it. Start living like it's already true, even if only 1% at a time. Each small win becomes evidence. And evidence builds belief. People stay stuck because they're trying to act like someone they don't believe they are. They try to work like a CEO but think like an employee. They want to write a book but still call themselves a procrastinator. If your identity contradicts your goal, you'll sabotage yourself. But when the two align, you become unstoppable. You don't fight your habits anymore. You embody them. It's not effort. It's who you are. This is how elite performers think. A Navy SEAL doesn't need to try to stay disciplined. He believes, "I am a SEAL. I do hard things. I push through." His identity carries him through pain, fatigue, doubt. And even when motivation is gone, that identity shows up. The key is to start small. You don't have to become a new person overnight. Just act like the person you want to become in the smallest way possible. Want to be fit? Walk every day. Want to be focused? Shut off distractions for 30 minutes. Want to be a writer? Write 100 words daily. Don't chase massive change. Chase consistency in a new direction. Identity isn't fixed. It's formed through repeated action. The more you act like the person you want to be, the more your mind starts to believe it. And when you believe it, everything gets easier. Track progress relentlessly. You can't improve what you don't measure. What gets tracked gets better. Tracking turns your goals from ideas into data. It makes success visible and failure impossible to ignore. People avoid tracking because they're afraid of what they'll see. The skipped workouts, the unproductive hours, the bad spending habits. But avoiding the truth doesn't make you disciplined. It makes you blind. Awareness is the first step to control. Think of a pilot flying a plane. Every second, they monitor altitude, speed, weather, direction. Why? Because even a few degrees off course can lead to disaster. Life works the same way. If you don't check where you're going, you drift. And you never drift anywhere worth being. Tracking doesn't have to be complex. Use a notebook, an app, a whiteboard. Mark off days you hit your habits. Write down what you eat. Log your workouts. Count your pages read. Record your spending. Simple systems create massive clarity. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, calls this the power of the habit tracker. Even just checking a box gives your brain a tiny reward, a psychological win. And that win builds momentum. A streak becomes a pattern becomes pride, and pride fuels discipline. Think of professional athletes. They track everything: how many hours they sleep, what they eat, how fast they run, how often they recover. They don't guess their way to greatness. They measure it. Your life deserves that same level of detail, not because you're obsessed, but because you're invested. If your goals matter, then so should the process of reaching them. And tracking isn't just about numbers, it's about accountability. It keeps you honest. It gives you feedback. You can see what's working, what's broken, and where to adjust. Without feedback, you operate on hope. With feedback, you operate on facts. Most people underestimate how much they waste in a week. Hours lost to scrolling, money spent on impulse, calories eaten out of boredom. But when you start tracking, you see it. And once you see it, you can fix it. Tracking also creates a sense of pride. Each completed day builds your identity. I'm someone who follows through. And when you miss a day, the gap is obvious and easier to correct. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. If your progress feels slow, track deeper. Often, the problem isn't that you're failing, it's that you're not seeing the truth clearly enough to improve. Discipline without data is like sailing without a compass. You might move, but you won't know where you're going or how far you've come. Surround yourself with standards. Your environment doesn't just shape your habits, it shapes your standards. The people you spend time with, the conversations you hear, the energy around you, these forces either pull you higher or hold you down. You don't rise to your goals, you rise to the expectations around you. Average becomes invisible when everyone around you is aiming higher. Excellence becomes normal when it's what your circle lives by. If the people closest to you value growth, discipline, and action, it rubs off. It becomes contagious. Think about high-performing athletes. They train with other athletes who push them to be sharper, faster, stronger. One slow lap and someone's calling it out. One missed session and someone's holding them accountable. That pressure isn't punishment, it's power. Being around people with high standards forces you to raise your own. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who avoid responsibility, make excuses, and settle for mediocrity, it drags you down. You start to rationalize laziness. You begin to tolerate weakness. It becomes easy to let yourself off the hook when no one around you is holding the line. This doesn't mean you need to cut off everyone who isn't perfect. It means you need to protect your energy. You can love people and still limit their influence. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your focus. Jim Rohn's famous quote, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," isn't a cliche, it's a calculation. Your attitude, your habits, your ambition, it all gets shaped by who you're watching, listening to, and spending time around. Even online spaces matter. What you follow, what you consume, who you let influence your thinking. These things are shaping your standards. If your feed is filled with people chasing growth, building businesses, investing in their mindset, you start to think differently. If it's filled with gossip, outrage, and distraction, that becomes your default. Seek people who live the way you want to live. Spend time with the hungry, not the comfortable. Learn from the obsessed, not the entertained. Talk less with those who complain and more with those who create. Watch how quickly your habits shift when your standards are no longer negotiable. You don't have to be the most disciplined person in the room. You just have to be in the room. Let their consistency elevate yours. Let their mindset challenge yours. Let their success prove what's possible. Discipline becomes easier when you're not doing it alone. Find those who are building, striving, refining, and become one of them. Rule 10, begin again, always. Self-discipline is not about never slipping. It's about refusing to stay down. Even the most focused people fall. They skip days. They lose momentum. They have moments of doubt. What makes them different is not perfection. It's the decision to begin again. Failure doesn't ruin you. Quitting does. Missing one day doesn't destroy your progress. Giving up does. The people who win in life are not those who never fall off track. They're the ones who get back on without delay. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they let one bad moment become a bad week, a bad month, a lost year. One missed workout turns into quitting the gym. One day of unhealthy eating becomes a weekend of regret. And then the voice in their head says, "You always do this. You're not disciplined enough. Why bother trying again?" That voice is a liar. Every moment is a clean slate. You can start over right now. Not tomorrow, not next Monday. Right now, the gym didn't disappear because you missed a workout. Your dream didn't die because you had a bad day. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. Look at any great comeback story and you'll find the same theme: resilience. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. J.K. Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. These people didn't get it right the first time. They just refused to stop starting. You don't lose the right to your goal just because you stumbled. You lose it when you stop reaching for it. Self-discipline is not rigid. It's not robotic. It's a relationship between you and your future. And like any relationship, it has rough patches. The question is, will you fight for it? Forgive yourself fast, learn from the mistake, then put your feet back on the path. One small action, one walk, one journal entry, 1 hour of focus can break the cycle of self-sabotage. It only takes one decision to reclaim your momentum. Think about a GPS. You miss a turn, it recalculates. It doesn't scream, "You're a failure. Why did you mess this up?" It calmly redirects you toward your destination. That's how your discipline should work. Course correct without shame, without delay. Start again with grace. Start again with fire. Just start again. Self-discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a fire you build. One decision at a time, one promise at a time, one moment of resistance at a time. It's not about being the most talented or the smartest. It's about being the one who refuses to quit when it's hard, the one who shows up even when it's boring, the one who chooses growth over comfort. You have everything it takes, not because life is easy, but because you're willing to be the kind of person who does hard things. You've learned the rules. Clarity gives you direction. Pain gives you purpose. Delaying gratification gives you power. Your environment shapes your behavior. Keeping your word to yourself builds self-respect. Routines create rhythm. Identity fuels consistency. Tracking reveals the truth. Your circle sets your standard, and no matter how many times you fall, you rise. You begin again. This is the path. This is the work. This is the way, because the person you're becoming, they're not built by motivation. They're built by discipline. So start now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now and when it gets hard. Good? That means you're on the right road. Keep walking. You're closer than you think.